Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. Today, we're joining you from the front of Allan Gilbreth's house, where he is constructing the booby traps that he'll be deploying when the Christmas carolers show up next week. I mean, Allan, I think the hot oil cauldron and the catapult are a little extreme.
It's not hot oil. I keep telling you, it's hot wassail. And a figgy pudding at about 60 miles an hour will remove somebody from your sidewalk.
Yeah, just please don't carol in front of Allan's house.
No. I need you to go carol in front of Allan's house.
Or if you do, bring a camera.
I've got cameras set up to watch this.
Anyway, welcome to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my buddies Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our pal Max over there behind the glass.
No, I'm tangled in one of the traps.
Yeah, we're getting in the spirit over here. Allan just doesn't. He values his privacy, and
Yeah,
whatever.
the hardest part is YouTube hates monetizing violent videos now. So I've got to make it seem I got to put some kind of music underneath it, like Benny Hill.
You put a laugh track underneath,
and
you're good to go.
Yeah.
So and speed it up,
Or put a smiley face over my head and everything, so I'm censored.
Yeah.
Well, we got to do that anyway. You being in the witness relocation program. And
Well,
all.
Allan, speaking of altering video in science today, you've got something sort of interesting: a coat that makes you invisible to surveillance cameras. Ways to trick. I guess this is great. We're giving out advice to burglars and to thieves.
Brandon and I are going to get into how to mess with AI.
Okay.
This made me think of an anime that I like, and also something from World War I. And believe me, they're both related.
Oh, okay. We'll
right.
just save that.
So we're gonna
put a
mute
pin in that, Max. So. Speaking of, Brandon, we're calling this the DC implosion, right? What is going on over DC?
A lot of people are going to call it the DC implosion. I'm going to call it a developing story because we're not exactly sure what's going on, but we're going to break down what we do know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, because there is the what's true and what's not, the whole thing. And sometimes when you go to the internet, you get stories that are actually not true. Can you imagine that?
What's really bad is when, these stories are being reported as completely true by people like Deadline and The Hollywood Reporter, and
That don't know.
other individuals have to come out and go, wait a second.
Yeah. Imagine that. So we'll be chiming in on that. I feel like we're going to get a lot of mileage out of that discussion.
Yeah.
So, well, you guys, Allan, we discussed this on Tool Talk yesterday, and I really would value Brandon's opinion because Brandon, this is an I don't know if this is even geeky. Somehow we can.
We're going to call it tech.
This is a slice of life moment
Yes.
because sometimes, once in a while, you have something happen, even at our age, that has never happened before. And anyway, so let me paint a picture for you.
It comes with age.
So it's Friday afternoon. Now, a lot of people get paid on Friday afternoon, including me. I'm a contractor, and I always collect a payment on Friday. So I want to get to the bank before it closes. So the way my particular bank is, they're closed on Saturdays, but on Friday afternoon, they close the lobby at 5:30.
Okay.
And they have the drive up with the teller. You know how they have those where you can talk to a teller? There's somewhere
video teller someplace
across the country or something. But anyway, so a video teller. So the transaction I needed to do, it was crucial that I deal with the teller because okay. So I pull up and there's 4 cars in front of me. And I look at the clock on my dash, and it's 5:33. I'm like, oh, I got 27 minutes. This isn't a problem.
All right.
So I'm patiently sitting there. I'm thinking about the weekend. I'm thinking whatever. Okay, so the guy that was in the drive, he backs up a little bit, and then the passenger gets out of his car, and I'm like, oh, it's one of these where the guy, he has to cash a check too or something. So. Okay, and I'm starting to look at the clock again. I'm like, no problem. Well, then a third guy gets out of the car, and I'm starting to go, okay, what is going on? In the meantime, while this guy's getting out of the car to do his transaction, the 2 guys walk over to this truck that's behind them. They roll down the window, and they're all, I guess they're friends. They're all talking to each other. They act like it's a big party.
They might all be from the same work site.
Right. They're all, hey, what's going on? Talking about the Grizzlies or whatever they're talking about. I'm starting to look at the clock, getting a little concerned. The truck pulls up. He doesn't pull all the way up. He gets out. The long and short, I'm not going to give you the whole Grizzly detail. The long and short of it was, between these 2 vehicles, 7 guys got out of their car individually.
Okay.
It was a nightmare. Every time you thought it was over, another guy gets out. And I'm like, surely there's an etiquette for this, because I literally
stole that from my mouth, Brandon.
I literally made it up to the thing with 90 seconds before it closed. And here's the thing. Brandon, if I pulled up and there were 7 guys standing outside the car and lined up and 2 cars, I would go, okay, well, maybe I ought to drive to another branch or something. But because there was uncertainty, and every time I thought, that's what, and I was furious at the end of it. You know? And I don't get mad very often, as
nobody,
you know.
I've seen you mad twice in our entire friendship. And
this one was at the top.
This was like the worst game of whack-a-mole ever. Because every time Joe's like, and that one's there's another one. It was great. This reminds me of you going up against the squirrels on your roof. Every time you thought you got one, there was 2 more to take its place.
Well, is there an etiquette for something like this? I feel that this has to do with line etiquette. Or, managing it. Like I said, if you pull up and there's 7 guys, I would say, well, I'm kicking myself for waiting too long to get to the bank, but I wouldn't blame them.
Right. I don't know if there's really any kind of set etiquette here.
Yeah.
I mean, they should have something set up where they close off half the lobby and they have like a teller up front that people who are walking up can go, and then that way you don't.
Because the bank was closed. This was only
but here's the thing,
and they only had 1 lane.
If you try and walk up to the window at McDonald's and order drive-through,
they
tell you to go away.
Yeah,
they literally will not.
They
take
put
your
a big
order.
sign up saying no walk-ups,
right? Stuff like that. I think that in a situation like this, I can't put the failure of the etiquette on these guys because there's no protocol for it, but I can put it on your bank because if you're already using a virtual teller, you should be able to do it via a virtual app on your phone. Bank of America allows you to do that. Even if you have to talk with a teller, because they do camera work on from your phone to the check, and then they void the check if you're trying to make a deposit.
Maybe I'm more... Well, see, here's my thing, though, Brandon. Okay, while the clock's ticking, and they all know the drill, they know it closes at 6, they don't have to act like it's a big party out there. They're standing around, they're chit-chat, and they see us fuming behind them, and I'm just like, I don't know, man.
But just like going on Twitter, the world is full of trolls. They just happen to be live action trolls.
Yeah, I don't know.
IRL trolls.
I got you a better troll story. I'll tell you when we come back.
Okay. Well, it's going to cut into your science, Allan.
It's all right.
Okay. But anyway, I would love our listeners' opinion. Get in touch with us at Geek Tank Radio on Facebook and tell us what you would do in that situation.
I'd run them over.
Exactly. All right, you guys, we're going to take a quick break, then we're going to come back and talk about science. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmsted and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And I guess it's a good thing that we don't record while we're off the air because this whole show would turn into traffic etiquette.
We'd have to go NSFW because the more I've thought about this thing as you've talked about it, the more angry I've gotten, and my filter was off completely during the commercial break.
Yeah, and if you're just tuning in, I had an incident involving rude people in line in front of me, and Allan, I don't know if you want to chime in on this, but we're turning the floor over to Allan. So,
hail science!
Okay.
Anyway.
I'll see your troll, and I'll up you a troll.
Okay. So is this a science? Is this a science connection?
Well, it's going to lead into science because it has something about being invisible.
Okay. Oh,
all right.
All right. So if you were driving home Friday night on Germantown Parkway and wound up in that huge traffic jam, I was the black truck.
Yeah, you got rear-ended. You caused a traffic jam the other day.
Dude, I didn't cause it. I was like the turkey at dinner. It wasn't my fault, but everybody was looking.
Okay.
And a friend of mine happened to pull out some safety cones to put out to get cars to move over. And whoever that was in the large white truck that drove over the safety cones and drove off with them, I'd like to tell you, thank you very much.
Wow.
You think it was on purpose?
Dude,
he
drove over the cones, dragged them past us, flipped us off, and kept driving. So I will see your 7 trolls and raise you a colossal troll.
I don't usually wish horrible things on people on the air, but
what was in the air on Friday night, man? Everybody was...
But, that brought up the whole idea
There was a full moon.
Of being invisible.
I was going to say, I actually had a great Friday, except for the fact I had to go to 4 different post offices to find a drop box that wasn't full, both outside and inside.
Okay.
Well, that's not bad. At least people are giving this year.
All right.
Besides giving me heartache. But besides that,
All right.
Let's talk about invisibility, guys.
So this is us. Now we're getting into science.
Yeah,
we're
let's
done
talk about
venting.
invisibility.
Okay.
Harry Potter had an invisibility cloak, right?
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
He had the invisibility cloak.
He had the invisibility
Death.
cloak. All right. Well,
Yeah.
the invisibility cloak actually exists in a variety of shapes, forms, and fashions. We have discussed in the past the invisibility cloth that absorbs radio waves. So you can
What do you mean? It makes you invisible or makes you non-detectable?
What it would do is would like a Bernoulli cage where radio waves and stuff could not penetrate, and thus you would disappear from anything searching that way.
Okay.
We have the cloak that will allow microwaves to pass over and through it.
Right.
So if you are being satellited, it would pass over you and not see you. We have used modeled camouflage to hide from black and white photography.
We've used the mirrored camouflage to do that with AI cameras.
And
I might even mention that we've even had camouflage as far back as World War I. There was a camouflage
I bet it
pattern.
goes further back.
I just meant I'll save that. I'll save that for later because there's a thing that Brandon talked about. Alluded to before. Like off the air that I want to try to contribute to it.
okay. Well,
There's the tinfoil hat that disguises you from aliens. So,
that's Joe's, but that's okay. Which Brandon just.
I have to talk
very
about something later
fashionable
on in the episode, so don't let me forget.
okay.
But now security cameras are becoming more invasive. So it's not necessarily hiding from the big stuff flying over or things taking pictures or things using microwaves or stuff like that.
They're everywhere.
We're now down to basically high definition cameras using AI algorithms.
All right.
Does our Ring doorbell use that, or is it just,
Your Ring doorbell is a part of motion,
it
of
captures
anything that is
motion
motion capture.
okay?
However, let's say something did go off motion capture, but it was using one of these AI algorithms to possibly investigate you through infrared.
Okay.
Well, what if you were the same temperature as everything else around you?
You'd probably be invisible, wouldn't you?
You wouldn't show up on infrared. You just look like everything else.
Huh.
What if you had a disturbing pattern to something that broke up the contrast flows of, your facial recognition?
So, okay. I see where you're going, Alan. Yeah. Okay.
We have discovered that a good makeup artist and a paint job can really make you look like something else.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So, there is actually a college student over here in China that has been playing with AI algorithms, and he has discovered basically what could be described as subliminal patterning.
Huh. Okay.
That will screw up an AI camera and thus make you invisible to the algorithm.
Okay.
So,
all right. So that's go ahead, Max.
I wanted to mention that the anime that I mentioned in the first segment was a Ghost in the Shell.
Yes.
And there's a character called antagonist called the Laughing Man. And the reason he was able to remain invisible is precisely because of something like that. Everyone had cybernetic eyes and all the cameras, but he found a way to become invisible because the whole entire world was cybernized.
yes.
So you
because we were utterly reliant on the technology, he found a way to slip through the crack, and thus none of the cameras could see him. And that is very similar to what we're looking at here. So basically, invisibility is a part of breaking the pattern that whatever is looking for you is looking for.
Yeah. Right.
So if we're using infrared and you're not warm,
You're
not going to trigger. If your motion capture is using an AI idea that this is what motion is, and you are producing an anti-motion pattern, then obviously you're not moving. This is even possible with anti-sound. So one way of deadening sound is to produce an equal sound of the exact opposite oscillation. So your noisy lawnmower could be twice as noisy, making the opposite sound and be almost completely silent.
I don't know. You're painting a picture of a world, Alan, where things are going to get really squirrely because you're going to have people putting on these coats, and you're going to have people going to battle with AI. I don't know. It's very interesting.
Here's the thing that they don't really tell you as much in the article. The guys who developed this coat were doing it in order to show vulnerabilities in the system, not for other people to exploit, but for the people creating the systems to find a workaround.
Yeah, because let's face it, burglars are going to find out about this.
You've seen our cosplayers.
Yeah.
Now you've seen what they've done with their face paint.
Right.
Did you know that by putting geometrical shapes all over your face with just that basic same makeup, you can make yourself unidentifiable to facial recognition software?
That's exactly what planes did back in World War I. They used a lozenge camouflage, which is just like little checkered patterns, and yet it helped them evade us being seen in the skies.
Yeah.
So when you look up, you just see this weird pattern and
A
everything.
great white shark is dark on the top and light on the bottom, so you don't see them coming.
All right. Boy, this is disturbing. But anyway, we'll keep the disturbing talk when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Allan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're sort of new to Geek Tank Radio, or if you don't visit YouTube, or if you're just don't tune into the latest geek news, you may not be aware of the shakeup that's going on over at DC, especially with regards to the cinematic universe. And Brandon, it sounds like things are either imploding or there's misinformation. Imagine that.
Well,
what's going on, man?
Well, we learned about a month ago that James Gunn and Peter Safran were taking over DC Films. They're
going to become the Kevin Feige of DC, basically.
Right. And you've got James Gunn coming at you from the creative side, and you've got Peter Safran coming at you from the producer financial side.
Yeah.
So you've got two really successful,
experienced,
two successful filmmakers working together. Well, as they've been working on getting what they're referring to as their DC Bible together, because they want to streamline everything from movies, TV, animation, and video games. They want it all to be recognizable without necessarily having to devour every bit of it.
Are they going to overlap with the comics? Because wasn't that the plan with Marvel? They wanted more continuity with the comics,
right?
And
the guy in charge of the comics and the guy in charge of the movies could not get along. Bob Iger
Comic geeks couldn't get along.
Bob Iger and Kevin Feige did not like each other at all.
Oh,
so that's okay.
That's
over on the other side. What we've got going on here was two guys who have been brought in a very tumultuous time with Warner Brothers, because David Zaslav is trying his best to reduce the debt, because apparently nobody told him that when you bought a company, you took on their debt.
You buy their debt, right? Because Discovery and teamed up with Warner Brothers.
Right, and he's not a happy elf at all. He's very cranky.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got news of a leaked report on Wednesday that Wonder Woman 3 would not be moving forward.
Yeah.
And that's all we got. And then, from that, people were like, well, and our insiders who gave us this information also say that Man of Steel 2 may not be happening because, and Jason Momoa may only be Aquaman for the next Aquaman film, and then he might get recast as Lobo. And you got all this stuff coming out. And meanwhile, Gunn and Safran are still working up to figure out what their thing is.
So they haven't announced anything, basically.
James Gunn, when this report hit, James Gunn came out and he said there are parts of this report that are true, parts of this that are half true, parts that are not true at all, and some that we haven't decided if they're true yet or not. Because, they're still working up their plan.
Right.
They're trying to create a 10-year plan for DC films or DC Entertainment. And it's like all this stuff's jumping out when they're like, wait, we're not ready to announce anything yet. The day before news came out that Wonder Woman 3 was shelved, Gal Gadot had already come out and said that she was looking forward to sharing the next chapter with us.
Okay.
And then we hear that it's canceled, so it's like, all right, what's going on? We figure, all right, it's all gone. They're massive reboot. It's going here. Comes to find out that Patty Jenkins turned in her treatment for Wonder Woman 3 to Michael DeLuca and Patricia Abney, the people who are in charge of Warner Brothers right now, because James and Peter are not, ready to go yet.
Right.
Stuff that was already in production still falls under them. And they were looking at it, and they were finding some massive problems with the treatment in view of where they wanted to go. It's been admitted that Wonder Woman 84 was a financial success, but a critical failure. And if you've seen Wonder Woman 84, you know what I'm talking about.
Because Wonder Woman was 2017, right? Yeah. The first, and we all agreed it was great. It's one of my favorite superheroes.
It was a
awesome.
classic.
And then they came along later, and it's like, how did it?
I can tell you exactly why it is. They had, Jeff Johns Zack Snyder and Patty Jenkins worked on the script of the first one together. That was a joint effort.
Okay.
They pretty much threw Patty Jenkins out there and go, you did great with the first one. Just go do the other one, because we were going through a really crappy time with DC films and all going on right there.
Yeah.
And she did her thing, and it had some massive critiques on what didn't work, and the few things that did work, like Kristen Wiig as Cheetah, one of the best parts of the movie. Anyway, there were apparently more glaring errors here, and Abdi and DeLuca were like, we can pivot this, if you want to take another shot. And she's very much like, you don't understand me, you don't understand this character, you don't understand what a character arc is, and sent DeLuca a Wikipedia link to the definition of character arc. And they just came back with, look, if you want to try something different, we're listening. And she's
they
like,
could have just
no.
canned her, but
she was like, no, if you're not going to take my treatment, I will go to my next film.
Wow.
Well, she's already had one major franchise can her, and that was Kathleen. When Kathleen Kennedy looks at your treatment for Rogue One and goes, that's not going to happen, goodbye, and you shelve the whole movie. Yes.
The Rogue Squadron movie. Yeah.
Right. And apparently she wasn't even willing to meet with Peter Seraphine to discuss what they might have planned for going forward.
Huh.
So
what's up with Patty Jenkins? Is she getting full of herself? Because I like I said, I loved her the first Wonder Woman, and it seems like she's done a lot of other good work. But
I've seen written by someone who I trust implicitly, who says every director I've ever met thought they were a writer, and every writer I've ever met thought they were a director, and never have they been both. There are people who can do both, but most of the time,
Reeves, right?
Matt Reeves had people helping him with the script. It's not all just him.
Okay,
in fact, there's a lawsuit right now that he stole that story, but we'll get into that when we start talking about it in the next segment.
That's just one thing. I did want to. One thing you said, Brandon, that caught my attention was that you said DC is trying to put together a 10-year plan. Which, how do you do that these days? I mean, the world changes. The world can change in 2 months or something like that. It's hard to imagine a 10-year plan anymore.
But you've also got to think about it. If you're doing smaller studios, a 10-year plan could be 3 films.
Yeah, I guess so.
And then you've got the TV. You're setting up for TV stuff that's going to be on HBO Max. You've got all this stuff that you're trying to work up, and it's all about concepts to begin with.
And this is a big, spread out universe.
Yeah.
I mean, it has all different input points.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that part to me is unusual. I don't know. I personally don't envy these guys. I feel like you're in for more. You're in for just as much critique as you are love. I mean, how many people go, "Gosh, I just love Kevin Feige."
But
does anybody ever really say that?
They used to say it a lot until Phase 4 happened, and they don't say it anymore. They're genuinely starting to believe Kevin might be that little robot at the end of She-Hulk.
Yeah, I mean, being in charge of some things is okay till you're in charge of them, and then it's like, oh my gosh. So, all right, well, there's a lot more to get to. So we're going to discuss the DC situation when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio. And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and our buddy Max over there behind the glass.
No, I'm still caught in Alan's traps.
Yeah, he's still fooling around with those booby traps for the Christmas carolers.
No, I'm taking notes. I'm learning.
Okay. So, guys, I was just thinking about something off the air. We've been talking about, among other things, we're talking about what's going on with DC, where they're basically trying to restructure. They're dealing with a merger with Discovery. I mean, Warner Brothers is, because DC and Warner Brothers are intricately linked. James Gunn.
That's how things work when you own something.
Right. And they're trying to basically, like what Brandon said, more or less create like a 10-year plan and get some continuity together. And some of it I like, some of it I don't like. But what occurred to me, Brandon, is in this season of transition, you're going to get all sorts of misinformation.
Oh, God, yeah.
And it's hard to not get emotional about it too, right?
Well,
I mean, you have to.
I've kind of held myself back as being that guy who's like, once Gunn and Seraphine make their official pitch, we'll know more.
Right.
And he likes to interact with people through social media. He'll tell you what's going on.
Right.
Unless there's a secret, then he'll go, I got a secret I can't tell you. And then you want to try and get it out of him. And you shake him like a toddler. Don't shake your toddlers, people. That's a joke.
Yeah, no kidding. But Brandon, one thing. Okay, so we're talking about properties that are either going away or they're getting recat, like with Wonder Woman 3, and which I don't miss.
When we first heard the Wonder Woman 3 news, we figured they had canceled it because it didn't fit the plan, and that Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot were gone. Now it's looking like Patty Jenkins walked. That doesn't mean that Gal's gone. That doesn't mean we're not going to get a Wonder Woman 3. We're just not going to get Patty Jenkins Wonder Woman 3.
Which is kind of okay with me if that's the because I hated the second one.
One of the other issues we've got that's coming out of this is that the Man of Steel 2 film is currently stalled because pitches that were coming in are not fitting what the narrative's going to be. We got to find out what the narrative is. But it looks like, James Gunn seems fine with keeping Cavill on as Superman, which I'm 100% on
for. The guy's perfect. He was born for that role.
Dwayne Johnson's over here trying to make excuses for the box office of Black Adam, saying the movie can still be successful, but it's pretty much dropping off.
Oh.
We know that the Flash has been moved up to Father's Day weekend, so we're going to get the Flash movie, and a lot of our future in the DCU is going to depend on what the universe is reset to look like at the end of that.
Huh. Okay.
Well, and an important thing you've got to realize as a writer or director, or
none
in this
of that's
case,
important.
An architect of all of this.
Yeah.
And it's going to be some harsh words, and I hope the fandom is ready, because sometimes you have to be prepared to kill your darlings.
Yeah, that's true.
Because, well, a particular direction we've gone with Superman lately, DC meaning dark and creepy. DC didn't used to mean dark and creepy. Superman was fun, lighthearted, and, I'm going
look
back
at the
30 years
Friends.
ago. And you look at a lot of the variations, and also the taste with the public changes.
Yeah. Yep.
Other movies influence what people are going to buy in the future. So we've had a certain, we just had Andor. And I'm going to pick on Andor because it was a little bit of a departure from other very related shows, some of them intimately related. And Andor was I'm going to look dead at Brandon. I'm going to say both critical and popular success.
You just made me think of something, and Brandon, maybe you know this.
Goodness.
So does Warner Brothers? Does
you made Joe think, Alan? Why'd you do that?
There's smoke. I know.
Well, okay, with DC,
I'm trying to get news out.
Well, with Marvel and Star Wars, you also have the added benefit of Disney Plus. You can make series on there. Does DC have that kind of vehicle with like HBO Max?
Or as it's now going to be called, Max, which means we've got to change the name of the guy we have over there in the traps.
No, he's capitalizing in that. So,
no, that's the problem. He won't be able to. They'll sue him for the name.
But I guess I never think of HBO Max the same way. Like I don't think of them as having the like Disney Plus just seems like it's established. You're going to get these shows. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something on HBO Max, but
you're probably missing a lot of stuff on HBO Max, like Titans and Doom Patrol. Doom Patrol is one of the most fun superhero shows out there.
Yeah,
and it's very successful, and it's not in the dark and creepy department.
And it's not all up in your face going, watch this. You have to watch this to understand. No, you watch it. You have fun. Brendan Fraser's in this show. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's just, you know what? It's popcorn fare.
It really is.
It's original entertainment.
And genuinely, that's what we need to get back to with the sci-fi and fantasy and superhero genres as far as film goes, because people are tired of the same cookie cutter. It's all gonna. It's at the end of the world every
universe is gonna die.
The reason why Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman, worked is because it was a period piece. We knew that yes, there's cataclysm, but we know that it's gonna be okay. We could just have fun with it and be in awe of the epicness.
Yeah, the standalone stories really work, and that's what I've used to like about DC. It's not interconnected with all these universe-ending scenarios.
But there's a way to do that and still keep a synergy, so that if, like, say, the Flash pops up in an Aquaman movie, you know who the Flash is,
right?
You know who the Justice League are, but you're not going to see necessarily the fallout of the Justice League movie showing up in the Martian Manhunter TV series.
Right. Yeah. I would think the big thing with all this is patience. Everybody wants this thing. You don't want them to just slap together a 10-year plan in a month. This is going to take a while, people.
And what's really funny is the things we're hearing about getting canceled. slowly more information's coming out about them, and then when you find out why they were canceled, you're like, oh, well, I'm kind of glad.
Yeah.
I'm glad that we're not, doubling down on the badness that was in '84.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There's only so much money to be spread around.
I'm okay with Batman Beyond getting canceled. Would I have loved to have seen Michael Keaton in the role of old man Bruce Wayne? Yes. But after hearing about the script that was being written for it, it was focusing on Catwoman and Batman's relationship as a young new Batman comes onto the scene. No, it needs to be about Batman basically being the Alfred to Terry McGinnis as he takes this on. I don't need to see old Michelle Pfeiffer and old Michael Keaton, having a love story, especially when during Batman Beyond,
is that what it was?
Catwoman's dead.
I don't want that either.
No.
I'm glad to say, and I especially don't want to build on that Batman Returns, which to me is the worst Batman movie ever made. But I mean, I know you guys liked it.
Did you see Batman and Robin?
Well, that's true. Yeah, the Joel Schumacher stuff. Pretty
Did you see
too.
The Dark Knight Rises?
I wouldn't put that in the same category.
Oh, it all goes in that category.
Okay.
I will take creepy Danny DeVito Penguin over that any day.
Hey, Michelle Pfeiffer with a whip. Gotta say.
All right. Well, guys, stay tuned, folks, because the drama is bound to continue. So.
Oh, yeah.
But we're out of time, you guys. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Allan Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
And I am Brandon Olmstead, just reminding you, don't believe everything you read on the internet.